Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Positive Perception GT World Series here at Barcelona for round one. I am joined in the commentating box tonight by Adam Bent, who I'm going to get in here now. Adam, how you doing, bro?
I'm good, bro. How are you?
Very, very good, very good. Are you excited for round one here at Barcelona tonight?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
I am hella excited.
Right, so this is my first time commentating a race, but it is not your first time. So, do you want to do a rough breakdown of what we're looking at tonight here?
Absolutely. Well, won't be the first time I've commentated over Positive Perceptions League. Anybody that remembers the brief interlude with the VRCC will know that obviously I've spoken a few times here.
Yeah.
So we have a hour-long race in front of us today, with I believe it's a 20-minute qualifying session split into two halves, the GT3s and GT4s. We have, I believe, the briefing currently going on, so Mark will be being lovely with everybody and briefing them nicely, as well, hopefully they're all listening very well. So yeah, like I say, we've got a lot of not as many cars this time round, but still a nice packed grid as always. This is the second season of the Positive Perception League. I'm not quite sure how many entrants we've got tonight, but no doubt there'll be plenty.
I don't know off top of my head. I believe it's 21. I believe there is 21 people on the in the grid at the moment.
Very good.
Could be wrong on that, but we did both race last season, didn't we? We both raced in the
I did a brief
season.
interlude. Yeah, I did do a brief interlude of that racing.
We did. You were GT4, were you not?
Indeed, I was in the Janetta GT4, which actually
Wow.
Jamie Buchanan has gone with. So interestingly, there still will be a Janetta on the grid this time round.
Yes,
so.
yes. I was in the Porsche 911 GTR, GT3R even, which I can see there is only one driver signed up to drive.
Yeah, Kiki.
Yeah.
So,
who I don't believe Kiki and Celtic Bromance are actually racing tonight.
let's have a quick look. Can have a quick look in the.
Doesn't look like they're in the server at the moment. I believe they are holding out on round one of the race. When we go through teams, though, we have got Celtic Bromance that will be joining us in the coming races. We have Dunn Motorsport, i.e. Positive Perceptions, which is the biggest group on the grid. What about Heinz Motorsport? Have you seen their livery?
I have. There's a lot of beans.
There is a lot of beans. Have they got beans to give on track, though?
Well, we'll wait and see. I mean, there's, like I say, you've got your Pulse boys back again for another season, which is always a very nice liveries. Justin Wellbluff does their liveries, and they're always quite nice to look at.
They do.
I'm not quite sure. I can't remember the name of the team we're looking at now, but I can see on your screen. There's a lovely little Ferrari in the bottom right-hand side. I can't remember the name of the team.
Bottom corner.
Number 14.
Number 14 is
Mr. Phillips, but I don't know what team he's racing for.
Mr. Phillips is racing for Togue Motorsport, which is a group that have brought themselves to fruition through the Discord. It's 3 drivers. At the moment, we've got Powell, we've got Peter Phillips, and James Jackson. So we've got a Ferrari 488 on the track, a McLaren 650S, and an Audi R8 LMS.
Ooh, very nice.
So it's a bit of a variety within the team. It's going to be interesting to see how they place, because this is their first championship as a team.
Yeah.
And then we've got a couple of solo teams as well. We've got Lisa with LLK Racing. We've got Kev Straw, who I believe isn't here tonight, but he does race for Monochrome Racing. Yeah. We've got Simon Wilkes with Sim Wilco, and Daniel Willem with Vibe Motorsport, and Richard Pixley with Wild Things Racing. So there is we have got a few single seat teams this season.
Indeed.
Another shout out as well. We've got PWS Esports, which I believe this is their first season.
I believe so. Yeah, I don't think we saw them last season. No.
I believe they are. PWS are a real life RC team.
Yeah. So I can't seem to find the teams for some reason. This is why I'm sort of struggling. I can't see the teams list for some reason.
Right. I've got it up here, but yeah, we've got Mark Rogers, Mark Christopher, David Gerard, and Darren Newton on PWS, and I believe they are a real life RC team. And then we've got 2 real life racers within this season as well. We have Colin Dunn, of course, with Dunn Motorsport, and then we have Kev Straw, who races Caterhams. So shout out to those 2.
Yeah, obviously we've got Colin Dunn, who is obviously done Positive Perception. He unfortunately put his in the wall last time out at Donington. Kev, I believe, is actually doing quite well in his, I think, the low cost championship.
Yes.
So obviously under the 750 Motor Club, and then obviously from my beautiful shirt, I'm off to Alton Park tomorrow with 750 Motor Club.
My favourite track.
Last day before we go and race on the Saturday in the Club Enduro.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, good luck with that. Alton Park is definitely a favourite of mine.
Oh, it's in a beautiful circuit.
Oh yeah, absolutely killer, especially in the sim, depending on what series you're racing in. I've raced, well, I think we've both raced MX-5s together.
MX-5s, Clios.
Yes, Clios, that was an interesting one.
That was a bizarre one. But no, obviously, we should probably talk about the circuit we're actually at today, which is obviously Barcelona. Obviously, normally more known for Formula 1, normally where they do the pre-season tests in the modern era.
Very, very true.
Obviously, this year, I think they went to Bahrain, didn't they? Went to Bahrain instead.
Yes, they did indeed.
Which it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, I know GT racing, obviously, again, circuits across the world now are used for many different series. But I think they also now use it in the WEC. So
really?
Or at the very least, the Road to Le Mans series, which is the European counterpart. But
yes.
See, you look at the grid now. We've got Ginettas, we've got Mercedes, we've got McLaren, we've got Audi, we've got the Maserati back.
Yep.
The beautiful sounding Maserati of Tom O'Farrell has come back, which we will never say no to.
No. Another car that I don't think saw the track in the first series is the Honda NSX.
No, the Honda NSX has, I believe that is Mr. Raddenbury, who is
Mr. Raddenbury and Robert are both running the NSX.
Very good.
We've gone from 0 NSXs being run in the first season up to 2 in second season.
Again, the Honda is a beautiful car. I mean,
it's very good in the straights. From what I remember, the very minimal usage I have in that car, it's very good in the straights. I very much struggled to keep it in line through some of the sharp corners, so it'll be interesting to see how they hold it on track tonight.
Yeah. It will be interesting to see, but again, if they feel comfortable in the car, it's a case of GT racing, especially like an hour-long race. It's not about being the fastest car overall.
No.
It's about a car that you can drive comfortably for an hour, knowing that you've got to then obviously, if you're not stopping, you've got to make sure the tyres survive.
Yeah.
If you are stopping, you've got to make sure that the car is as quick as possible for both stints.
That's it.
And that's the key difference between driving cars like a Ferrari. You'd imagine would be very quick in a straight, obviously across maybe 10 minutes. But over an hour, all of a sudden Honda NSX is coming back at it, and McLaren 720. All these cars that you would normally see on especially road going. I mean, the biggest probably difference is the Bentley Continental.
Yes.
Obviously a luxury car.
Yes. Being
able to keep up and normally beat cars like Ferraris, Maseratis, McLarens, Aston Martins.
100%. 100%. GT racing, when you look at it on paper, it should be the Ferrari crossing that finish line every single time, but it's never the case. Not over an hour-long stint.
Absolutely not.
It is pure consistency.
That's the best thing I think about it.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. It's a different breed of racing. When you're on 20-minute stints, 25-minute stints, it does come down to how good the car is and how good you are at managing the power of said car. But when you're under an hour-long stint plus, it is all about consistency, and I don't think it matters too much about the potential performance differences of the cars on the track. At that point, it is all down to personal preference and what the driver feels comfortable with. Absolutely.
I mean, myself, like I say, the Ginetta, knowing it's not the fastest car, but over an hour, it's just so nice to drive.
Yeah.
Obviously, I could easily jump in something fast like the Maserati, but I wouldn't be comfortable. I'd be spinning off every corner. Obviously, again, getting back to the track as well, the Barcelona it's a very simple track. Again, the layout is very straightforward. You can see it. Obviously, we can see it, not on the stream, but you can see it sort of very laid out quite nicely.
Yes.
Not very many super slow corners.
Not many at all. No, I think
Turn
it's only.
one will be interesting.
Turn 1 will be interesting. I actually think we're going to see a bit of a divide come before the third sector, because I think that's where, if cars are still too close together and still piling through the corners 3 wide, that's where we're going to see issues. And I think most of the drivers on the track have the caliber and have the experience to know that that's not something that can be done at Barcelona, and they're going to have to back off a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously the slowest corner is in sector 3. I'm trying to look now for name the number of the corner. Number 10. It's corner 10, I think. Lucaxia. Sorry, I'm probably butchering the Spanish pronunciation. I do apologize. But obviously turn 10, which is the hairpin at the end of the back straight, is such a difficult corner to navigate, especially at speed, because you're going from your 6th gear and maybe close to top end 150, 160 mile an hour, down to 2nd gear at 40, like maybe 60, less than 60 mile an hour normally.
There is no room for error within that braking point either.
Absolutely not.
If you miss it, you miss it.
So, and obviously you don't want to miss it, let's be honest.
No, you do not. You do not.
So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see, especially with the chicane as well. Obviously, you got the chicane towards the end of the lap.
Yeah.
As you come on to towards the final turn, you've got those 2nd gear chicanes. Obviously, certain cars, the bigger, heavier ones, will struggle through those.
Yes, but I can see the Bentley's going to struggle there. I don't believe this track is very well equipped for the Bentley when it comes to the third sector.
I don't think it is in the third sector, but the first 2 are so sweeping and fast that it should, in theory.
In theory, the Bentley is going to make a massive gain in that 1st and 2nd sector due to the sweeping corners, that it can use its own weight to kind of pull itself through. So we'll see how that goes on track, but it looks like the driver briefing is coming to an end now, so we should be shortly going into GT4 qualifying.
Indeed, and I think that is a Mr. Roddenberry. Hello, Mr. Roddenberry.
Good evening, gents.
How are we doing?
We're good. That was the shortest brief I've ever done for any of our rounds, any of our series. So GT4 qualifying has now begun.
Indeed.
Lovely.
So you may, let's
just cycling through the cameras to see who we can see heading out onto the track now. I'm looking at Mr. Pixley, who was our GT4 series winner last season, am I correct?
Indeed, yes. He won it by not many points in the end. It was very close. I'm just going to see if I can scroll and find it quickly, because I forgot to write this down earlier. So he won it by, actually, no, it's quite a margin. 211 points for Richard, and Anthony Brown, who's also out there today, 189.
Right, so that is a bit of a title to hold up for Mr. Pixley this season. How do you feel he's going to do? Because you are racing in GT3 this season, aren't you?
I am. I brought out the all-conquering Honda, because it's a beautiful machine.
Indeed, we spoke about this, because in season 1, I don't believe there was a single Honda on the grid.
There wasn't, no, and now we've got 2.
Indeed. What made you choose the Honda by chance?
I've always loved it. It's just a beautiful car to look at. You know, it looks aggressive. It drives on the edge. It's just one of those cars, and the sound it makes is incredible with that little tiny turbo. It's just a beautiful car. It's lovely to paint as well.
It is. It has got some lovely lines. So what can you tell us about the guys that are out on track at the moment? We've got
So-
yes.
Sorry, if I pop out the little window, I'll be able to see it exactly. So we're looking currently at Lisa Keane. Lisa is an RC racer from the east coast of England. Very good RC racer. In fact, she races at the Louth Club. I don't know why she's stopping. She is our only female entrant on the grid. We always want more. You know, if you're out there, if you're hearing it, come on, get on down.
That's it.
I think she's currently got Rich Pixley up ahead of her, so she's not going to get much of a slipstream off him. She is driving the Mercedes. There's two Mercedes in GT4. GT4's been a lot more split with the cars, I feel, this time.
I definitely think you're right on that. I think last season we saw half of the GT4s running the Porsche, and other than that, I think it was the BMW. Am I correct? It was mainly Porsches and BMWs.
So I can look now, in fact. So there was 4 Aston Martins, 2 Porsches, 2 BMWs, 1 McLaren, which is still out there now. Colin is driving McLaren again this season.
Right.
And Mr. Bent, you drove a Ginetta for 1 round, I believe.
I believe I did 2, and then I had to jump in the box because, you know, my beautiful silky smooth voice.
And interestingly, there is still a Maserati going around. Now that is an absolute beast of a car. There is no traction control. There is no ABS. It's such a handful, but Tom O'Farrell just nails that car around the corners. It's incredible to listen to, incredible to watch.
I didn't know this about the Maserati. I've never really delved too far into the GT4s myself, and I didn't know that it was that much of a handful. So it's got no AC or traction, no ABS or traction control.
None. And my favourite circuit on this game, my all-time favourite circuit is Bathurst.
Yes.
I have taken that car around Bathurst. It is an absolute joy to drive, but equally, it's wet your pants scary.
Right. I can imagine.
It wants to kill you at every corner, every lift of the throttle, every braking zone is just a gamble, but it's incredible.
I think it definitely seems like a car that, if he can control it, will have some very, very strong races this season.
It will. I'm just looking. Some times have popped on the board now. Drivers are completing their laps. Currently, Pixley is numero uno ahead of Mark Neutlings, Anthony Brown, Tom O'Farrell, and then Colin.
Interesting. This is what I'm seeing as well. So, what are your predictions for the GT4s? As it stands.
It's not an easy one to call. Mark Neutlings, he's one of my positive perception drivers. He is driving the cheese-based livery. I have to mention, so the cheese livery, there it is on screen now. Yeah. It's one of the first I ever made.
Right.
So it's about a year and a bit old now. And it was kind of a joke from Mark and his teammate at the time. They just wanted a cheese livery. So I said, fine. And created the monstrosity that you can see in front of you with the cow on the roof.
I was just looking at the cow on the roof. That is a wonderful
It's a work of art. It's beautiful. I love seeing it out. It always makes me smile when I see it, even though I do criticise Mark for choosing it. So going back to the point, I think it's going to be a tough one between Ant Brown, who's just got a quickest lap, Pixley and Neutlings. Possibly the dark horse in there is going to be Mark. He's not a big fan of GT4s, but when he drives them very, very well.
Right. So we have currently Ant Brown at 154.4. Do you think, how far off pace is that going to be with the GT3s?
The quickest time I have seen set on the server was last night. The man who is just purely known as an alien, that is Johnny Seville, car 17 in a McLaren for Pulse Sim Sport. He did a 141.9. It was, incredible pace, absolutely incredible. So I think the GT, it's a good 10 seconds gap you've got between GT4 and GT3.
Interesting. That's quite a big gap, and I think, would I be right in saying that I think we're going to see most of that gap in the first and second sector before we get into some of the slower corners in the third sector?
I would say first sector, definitely with the main straight and that long right hand. I'm sorry, I don't know any names of the corners.
Me either.
Somebody will probably point them out. I'd say the middle sector, after you've gone up the hill and you're onto the back straight, then you're going to see a bit of pace from the GT3s there. The heavy braking zone into the hairpin, though, that's going to be a bit of an interesting one. I was doing some offline practice with multi-class, and I was catching GT4 cars there, and there's just no way past until you come back round onto the main straight. It's incredibly tight.
Interesting. We are currently watching Colin Dunn here.
Colin has had 0 practice, I'd like to point out.
Right, okay, so Colin likes to live life dangerously like myself and turn up to races on 0 practice. I see.
He's been rebuilding his Clio racing car after a bit of a shunt at Donington.
Yes.
Came off for 100 mile an hour. Yeah, I think he's rebuilt it now, but it's been a bit of a slow process, unfortunately.
It always is. I'm sure Adam here in the comments box can attest to that as well.
We're not talking about alternators today.
What about clutches, or what was it yesterday? Was it alternator yesterday?
It was the alternator yesterday.
I won't say a word.
We'll keep that between us, shall we, Matt?
We shall. Anyway, I'm going to love you guys and leave you because I've got a minute and I've got to get out.
That's it. Good luck in your qualifying. We will be watching.
I'm sure I'll be back. Thank you, everyone who's watching. Thank you for supporting Positive Perception with this. Feel free to join the Discord, find us on Instagram, Facebook, all that jazz. And yeah, thank you.
No problem. Good luck.
Thank you.
So we are currently watching Adam Pixley, who's brought down his time by a tenth of a second. And it's a bit of a gap.
So I was going to say there's quite a large gap there.
It's very spread out with the GT4s here, with up to nearly 2.5 seconds from Pixley and Buchanan.
2.5 seconds isn't overly a lot, especially in GT class around
over an hour. It's
over an hour over a 2.8, well, pretty much 2.9 mile circuit.
Ooh.
As Pixley just drops it out of the turn, so you can just see off to the left there the rallycross circuit. But yeah, as we jump. He's jumped back to the pits now, so that'll be his laps done. Everybody's laps done.
He's jumped out, and it looks like the GT3s are making their way out of the pit lane now onto the track for their qualifying.
Yep, they are indeed. Obviously, the key ones to look out for, like Mr. Raddenbury said, is Jonathan Seville, Miles Dixon. The two, if Mr. Dixon is here tonight with us, are the two obviously Pulse drivers who are known to be rapid. Dark Knights will be obviously Simon Wilkes, the reigning champion.
Yes.
Ash Knight can always, on a good day, can definitely perform to a point where he could take the win. And yeah, obviously, like I say this, but you never know what's going to happen until the lights go out. And obviously, qualifying is the first stage in the process to the podium, and obviously afterwards, about converting that pole or top row or wherever your position is, you just want to keep working forward.
That's it.
But yeah, like I say, the times on the board will be final for the GT4s. So obviously 1:53.3 is a rapid time by Mr. Pixley. And Brown shouldn't be completely disappointed with that. Again, Pixley may be the quickest in qualifying. It doesn't mean he'll be quickest in the race. Neutling will be not overly upset with that, I don't think.
Just going through, seeing who we have on the track at the moment. We have Simon Wilkes here, who's someone that we both fought against in season 1.
Very, very quick driver. Definitely, obviously, there's a reason he's got the number 1 on the car. He's the champion.
There is someone that we'll definitely be looking out for during the race.
Absolutely. So obviously, Mr. Wilkes will be is the reigning champion. He'll be looking to keep that, as everybody seems to be bunching up like
it does seem like the safety cars come out, doesn't it?
So I think they're all staggering themselves because there's such a short qualifying. They're all staggering themselves to go. Is that a McLaren 650? That is a 650.
It is indeed.
So I'm not quite sure what the number was on that one, but yeah, that's quite a surprise to see the 650 out.
Let's go back to it. I'm trying to find it.
Give me a moment and I'll look for the number for you. Number 8.
There we go. Oh, we are there.
Oh, Mr. Poe. Yeah, that's a shock to see the 650S out. So obviously the 650S being the older chassis. Obviously, some people know it as the MP44 GT3, which obviously is probably where most people know it from. But yeah, obviously the 650S, I believe it is called. The actual chassis is 650S.
Very interesting to see it on the track. It would be interesting to see how it can fight against its older brother during this season.
Well, this is the older brother. The younger brother, obviously, the 720.
Are you the younger brother even? Yes.
The 720S obviously being a very quick car. Obviously, I believe IGN Motorsport, obviously Mr. Button's team, did run this car and also then ran a 720S the next season. So obviously, the car itself is a beautiful car.
Yes.
There's no denying that. It's the Honda NSX just in the background, which is also a very beautiful car. Yeah, the 650S obviously being a bit of a, in theory, a slower car because it is the older GT spec. However, obviously, again, if you can get it high enough up the grid, there's no reason why it can't win.
That's it. Right, let's have a look who else we have competing. As we look at the Honda NSX that is going, they've yet to set a time. At the moment, if we look, we have obviously Jonathan Seville has put down a 1:43.2 as his current time. And Mr. Wilkes very, very close behind him. Even closer behind is Mr. Jackson in the Aston Martin.
So yeah, interestingly, obviously you've got a really short gap now between 2nd and 6th. However, obviously the times will tumble still. Everybody's times that you see here, I wouldn't say are overly representative because bear in mind, obviously they're still learning the track, the grip levels, you know. So again, I'm not sure quite how long we've got left, but obviously however long is left will sort of determine as to where they finish. If there's enough time to get out for another lap, obviously we've still got half the grid in the GT3 category. We haven't set time. Obviously Ash Knight is a very quick driver as well, which
very quick driver. I believe he won the first race of the first season with positive perceptions.
Did indeed after a small incident between myself and Mr. Dixon, actually.
Interesting.
Obviously we won't go too much into that.
No.
The stewards, again, this is obviously history, and the stewards took a dim view to it in his regard. But again, obviously racing is racing, and obviously this is a new season, everybody's on a fresh start.
That's it.
So let's just see how it goes.
You say that there are drivers this season that are carrying points over, they are carrying penalty points over from the previous season.
Absolutely. Well, that's something that I think they discussed in the meetings before the season started.
Right.
There were obviously the case of when a driver comes in, obviously, you know, and does make a lot of mistakes and causes a lot of incidents. Obviously they had a clean slate, then they have an opportunity to do the same mistakes all over again and not be overly punished for it.
Yes.
So by keeping the penalty points, it's an incentive for people to not mess up as such.
That's it. And if you're racing clean, like everyone's objective is, there's no reason why those penalty points won't be gone within a couple of races into the season.
Absolutely. Obviously, like I say, the whole idea is to keep clean, fun racing. Obviously, we want door-to-door action, but we want door-to-door action without the need to run somebody off the road or put them in a tyre barrier or in the gravel. Or, well, at Catalunya, there's quite a lot of concrete walls, and yeah. Cars don't really like to take concrete walls to the face.
They don't. So if we move over and have a quick look at the calendar here for the season coming, we are starting here at Barcelona, and then we are off to Brands Hatch for the second race of the season. That's going to be an interesting one because Brands Hatch is one of my personal favourites. I don't know how you feel about Brands Hatch yourself, but I think
Love
it's a
Brands Hatch.
very well suited track when it comes to the GT3, GT4 cars.
GT4 is a brilliant round Brands Hatch.
Yes.
I've been in person. I won a race of the VTCC there. I
Yes.
believe that was my first win in the VTCC. I think that was just before you joined.
Uh-huh.
No, Brands Hatch itself is an amazing track. Again, steeped in history. You know, the greats like Senna, I believe Prost has won there, Hill's won there.
Yeah.
You know, you've got the greats that have won at a track like that. And then you've also got just the overall like layout of the track. It's an amazing track, especially turn 1, Paddock Hill Bend. Such a great corner because it just catches everybody off guard. And it's just great to watch, basically.
Something we definitely can't argue with. So if I try and bring back, there we go. I seem to have fixed my camera issue that I had. So we are now following Simon Wilkes, and if I get the times up, actually looking like Simon's going to have a very
tough challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. This is not where I expected to see Simon at this point in qualifying, is it?
It's an interesting choice, the Audi. I mean, V10, I'm pretty sure it's turbocharged, but
yes,
V10,
it is.
obviously, it's still rear-wheel drive to compete with GT regulations. Obviously, the natural road car is all-wheel drive, but so it's a very different style of car to the Aston Martin he drove in Season 1. Not inherently a bad car, but a different choice. We saw the Bentley, the Nissan GTR, and the very rarely we saw a McLaren up front. In qualifying, Callum McGough put his McLaren last season on the front row multiple times, but during the race it just seemed to disappear. But I mean, a 142.8, I say that, and it's at almost 11 seconds faster than a GT4 car. Now, over 3 miles, that's quite a big gap, which means they may end up lapping the other drivers, and
I believe they will. I believe they will. And as we were attesting to what we said earlier about it not really mattering which car you go for over the space of an hour race, it's all down to which you're comfortable with. I think that's very well shown here in what we can see from qualifying so far, where there aren't many brands that are linked together other than the Honda and the Ferrari on track. Now, is that down to the car or simply the fact that these are well-suited drivers that know each other?
So I think that, yeah, I'd say with the Hondas, I think that's a case of the two drivers have been practicing a lot together, so their times will be fairly representative between each other. Pulse are just very quick. I think whatever you put them in, whether you were to put them in the Jaguar or the Audi or the McLaren, they're just quick.
100%.
They're all very quick drivers. Again, like I say, the Audis haven't done overly bad. 5th and 6th, and 3rd, 5th, and 6th is quite good for the Audis.
Yes.
Obviously, I'm not surprised that Jonathan Seville's on the front.
No, not at all.
Obviously, the only reason I think he didn't win the championship last time out was because the fact he didn't turn up to every round.
This is it. I believe he missed 2 rounds or maybe even 3 rounds.
Indeed.
Which is effectively half the season.
Yeah, indeed. So it was obviously unfortunate for him. I think very much a case of he will be looking to take that title away from Simon Wilkes. So Simon Wilkes got a lot of work to do, because bear in mind as well, Jonathan's got a rear gunner. Ash Knight and Miles Dixon both are part of Pulse's infrastructure and will obviously help each other to take a win, and obviously maybe even a Pulse podium altogether. Obviously Ash Knight I don't think is racing for Pulse this time out, but I think he does race under the Pulse name.
Right.
Pardon me.
Miles Dixon is racing under Pulse, one of the 2 720s, as well as Seville. Then the other Pulse is the Audi R8, of course.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, we've obviously not paid attention to Mr. Gilbert, but Mr. Gilbert, like I say again, you got to be quick to be up in 6th place and only just over a second away from Jonathan Seville. Again, anybody within a second of Jonathan Seville is alien.
Yes, 100%, 100%. Having raced with Seville in previous season, I can tell you he is quick. Very, very, very quick.
Absolutely.
Get over onto the grid as we start piling in now.
Absolutely. So all being well, this should be a very interesting grid. Obviously, we've got the GT4s at the back. Pixley at the front of that. Mr. Seville at the front of the GT3s. You can see there Tom O'Farrell's Maserati has made itself up to, I believe, 4th or 5th there. I think maybe at the back, but I'm not quite sure. Obviously, you can see the beautiful liveries of Pulse there from 1st, 3rd, 5th, or 4th even. There's 2 Pulse Audis there by the looks of it.
Yes, yes, there are.
So Mr. Seville, obviously Ash Knight in the Porsche, sort of sticking out like a sore thumb in that beautiful green colour though. But obviously you can see the 4 Pulse boys there. Ash Knight obviously being the sore thumb. Jonathan Seville, Hagel, Miles Dixon, and obviously we've got Simon Wilkes in his Audi, sat next to Mr. Gilbert in his Audi. Rob Jackson in the AMR Vantage GT3 next to Gerard. Mark, I'm not quite sure the names, unfortunately. Obviously, the names will come in time. Mr. Rogers in his 777 Continental GT3. Mr. Ward in his AMR V8 Vantage GT3.
With the beautiful Heinz livery.
Absolutely. We do love a good beans. We've got Mr. Raddenbury and Robert Zantai on the next row. Well, I say the next row. The 2 positive perception cars there. Very, very good looking. Obviously, the white one, I believe, being Zantai, if I'm not mistaken.
I know. Correct.
Sorry, the white one is Mr. Raddenbury. The black one is Zantai.
Right.
Just looking at the grid. We'll get it right as
we will. As the season goes on, we'll become a lot more familiar with the drivers and the liveries that they're running. Moving back, I'm looking now towards the GT4s.
Damien Buchanan in the Ginetta.
Yes.
Again, I love the Ginetta. I just think it looks amazing. I don't care what anybody says. Obviously, we've got Mr. Colin Dunn just in front of him in his McLaren 650. Or is it 570? Sorry, it's a 570 in the GT4. I believe it is anyway. Obviously, we've got Lisa Keenan at AMG
yes,
GT4.
it is a 570.
Maserati in the next position then, next to another AMG of Mr. Mark Neutlings. Then we've got the Heinz, the Spaghetti Hoops car of Ant Brown.
Yeah.
And last but not least, obviously, our champion from last season, Richard Pixley, in the Porsche Cayman GT4.
Going to be a very interesting
of all
race.
the drivers, I would say Pixley has this one, I think, in the GT4s. GT3,
I think you are definitely correct there. I can't see a world where Pixley's gonna have major issues.
I'm calling it now. However, obviously, it's racing, and racing is anything but certain.
100%. And over an hour, there is anything can happen over the space of an hour. Bad pit.
Did they have pit stops today?
Yes, tyres are mandatory. It is a mandatory pit stop.
Ooh,
and I believe it is a completely open pit window as well, so drivers have full availability to pit whenever they see fit. So we'll see some cheeky undercuts from the GT3s, I'm sure.
I mean, yeah, if I was a GT3 driver, I would be aiming at about 20 minutes pit. And then do the last 40 minutes on tyres. However, obviously, you look at Formula 1, there'll be drivers out there that think in the Perez mindset of run your tyres to the ground and then the last 10 minutes, absolutely hell for leather.
If it works for them, it works. But I can see a lot of the grid trying to pit a little bit earlier than the pit window would normally open.
Absolutely. Well, again, it all depends on your driving style, because if you can nurse tyres over an hour, you could pit the first lap in theory and have no issues.
100%.
If you were to obviously pit early and then have an issue, you've already done your mandatory stop, which means that you're just costing yourself time. So some of them will wait the race out for as long as they can. in hopes that, if they do have an accident, they can just jump in the pits, reset, and off they go again.
That's it, that's it. And here we go. We are going into formation lap now by the looks of it. We're going to jump in and watch Mr. Seville as the lights go out.
Yep, so obviously the formation lap now is a chance for them guys to get their tyres nice and warm. So that I believe the livery is kind of inspired by the Lando Norris helmets, from what I know.
That would make a lot of sense. That would make a lot of sense, and it does give that vibe quite strongly.
It does indeed. So obviously, as we can see, the cars do ghost a bit here. So, if you're wondering why somebody's inside in another car, that's exactly why.
Welcome to ACC formation laps, where physics. We'll leave it at that.
I'd just say sim racing in general sometimes. But,
as we've seen from Assetto Corsa racing, physics in sim racing do have moments.
Obviously, the physics of AC2 are a lot more realistic than the ones in AC, just due to the amount of time they've put into just GTs and GT cars only.
That's it.
However, obviously, it's just a case of safety. If you ghost mode on a warm-up lap, in the case, obviously, somebody tries to warm their brakes up and just slams on the brakes, you're not going to go into the back of them thinking, "Oh shit, sorry."
And it happens. It happens. I think if there wasn't a ghost mode, I believe formation laps in ACC would be very, very painful.
Absolutely. Being crashed out on a warm-up lap is the worst thing to happen to them.
Although it'd be one hell of an update for them to push without telling anyone.
Absolutely.
So as we see them coming into the third sector now, I believe.
Yeah, that's
trying to work out this is into the third sector.
Yeah, we're coming up to the third sector now, so they're coming up the hill to the back straight towards turn 10. Obviously the sharp hairpin. So you've got your cut off there on the left. I can't remember what track variation that's for.
I'm not sure. I don't think I've ever I don't think I've ever raced Barcelona with that track variation.
I believe it's the old Formula circuit. Obviously, if you look at the top of the circuit now, you can see the rallycross extra bit, which is always great to race on. Obviously, you can see the gravel tracks, which I always thought were just there for randomness, and then I started watching rallycross, and I've got to say, it's one of my favourites to look at.
And here we have a great example of why we have ghosting within the formation lap, as Pixley even Seville slams his brakes on to get as much temperature into them as he can before they come onto the start-finish straight here. But that's some incredible lineup. When we look at the drivers coming through that final corner there.
And obviously the noise, you've got a flat 6 and a lot of V8s there. Well, 2 V8s, a flat 6, and 3 V10s followed by more V8s. So the noise this is going to make as it goes across the line is just going to be amazing.
And here we go as we come into the line, and the lights are green. Away they go. Seville and Knight are going to come into the first corner.
So it looks like Ash Knight's going to jump, but is he going to cover off the line on the inside? No, he's not. Oh no, he has covered it off.
There we go. He has
there you go. Time to go.
Oh, nearly. Knight saw an opening.
Simon Wiltshire is third immediately. Obviously now being pushed wide, so he may drop back a couple of places here. But it looks so far everybody's through fairly cleanly.
It's looking very, very clean so far. We've seen 3 wide.
Oh,
and we've got a big accident.
Looked like a Bentley had gone into the side of an Aston Martin at the back there.
It did indeed.
Sure what happened. Obviously that's really unfortunate. There was a bit of a tap there.
Bit of contact there, but both drivers have kept it under control.
Obviously the worst thing is, as I look at the back, it was, I believe, an Aston Martin putting Bentley into the wall, which is obviously disappointing. We never want to see anybody in the wall, so keep you updated as to who that was momentarily. But I don't think anybody's dropped too far back. There you go. Bentley
There we go.
7, Mark Rogers, I believe it is.
It
And
was
McLaren
indeed.
650 is
Pio,
dropped right
and that's
back.
out.
Pow is dropped back, sorry.
Poe's dropped
so
right out. I believe he's actually out into the pits.
that's never good to see, obviously. That's
It's
really
not.
unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. So if we carry on down the grid now, we've obviously got Miles Dixon, who's made his way into 3rd place. Simon Wilkes just behind him, followed by Mr. Gilbert up into 5th. So we have our top 5 at the end of lap 1. All looking very, very clean. And there's a big spin there. And that is Seville out. That was Seville out.
Jonathan Seville spinning.
He looks like he went into the back of Mr. Knight.
So that's not good to see, which, I mean, obviously, really unfortunate for him. Obviously, now Ash Knight does lead with a decent gap.
Indeed.
Jonathan Seville still dropping, 8, gone past 8, so...
He's dropping down quite hard, down into 30, 40.
Still dropping.
He's had a very, very heavy shunt.
Place. So he's now going to fight his way all the way back through. I mean,
but I believe he will. I believe he will.
Like I say, we'll wait and see how he does, but that's really unfortunate for him.
Very unfortunate, but it has let Mr. Dixon get up into 2nd place.
I mean, all the while you've got the 3 Audis behind both the McLaren and the Porsche, which will be ready to strike at any moment. You see, just in the background as well, 3 other drivers. So we've got 1st to 5th here, which means we've got 7th to 8th. There's a spin.
Oh,
That looked like Rob Jackson's been tagged. Whereas he's not there, so he's been tagged. He
has been dropped out.
So there's Mr. Raddenbury.
Mr. Raddenbury is making if I'm correct, I believe Mark Raddenbury has made a couple of places in the 1st lap there.
He has indeed. I think that may be through misfortune of other drivers as well, but obviously, again, still a good job. Again, to finish first you must finish. So
up into 7th. If we join back to the front now, it's still very, very close, with Pulse Motorsport making a very, very big mark up at the top here. I don't believe Ash Knight is making the gains in his first opening laps that he might want to be. Having raced with Ash in the previous season, I know that something that he loves to do is try and make as much ground within those first couple of laps as possible so that he can almost sit back a little bit. But he's not making that ground just yet.
it absolutely is a case of you've got to push as hard as you can. Miles, Simon, Gilbert, Hagel will all be used to chasing, and that's the thing. A lot of these drivers are used to chasing, so you can't sit back until you've got a good 20-30 seconds, and even then, sitting back will not allow you to get any further ahead.
No, it will not. It'll be interesting to see what happens once we see these front runners here with the GT3 end up meeting the GT4s on track.
It will indeed, obviously. GT4s, if we want to jump to them, should be still having quite a good battle of their own.
They should indeed, if we jump our way down. And we Join Mr. Pixley, who of course is leading the GT4s here, with Ant Brown right on his tail as they come into the shop.
So something happens to Mr. Zantai, because that is a Honda NSX GT3 in and amongst the lovely beans flavoured Aston Martin.
We have beans and cheese. Beans and cheese within the GT4s.
And obviously the beautiful, I'd say like it's a cherry red almost on the front of the Pixley's car, which is a very nice colour.
It is.
Obviously Zantai seems to be struggling with the Honda a little, whether he's
Does seem he is struggling to keep it within the corners, which is, as I said, something that I struggle with when testing the car out myself. I believe it's extremely powerful on the straights, which he will be able to use to his advantage, but some of the tight corners, he may well struggle.
He will indeed. Like I said, the Honda is a lovely car to look at, but aerodynamically it's not the greatest.
It's not. I believe it's come a long way. as they did make some heavy changes to it.
Yeah, they did. Obviously, one of the test beds for their main campaign as such in the GT world is I think the European Challenge. Obviously, it used to be known as the Blancpain GT Series.
Yes.
Now it's obviously the Fanatec GT World Series, they call it. Or GT World Champion, either or.
There's too many names.
There's too many names. But to be fair, you don't really see many Hondas racing anymore. You don't.
I don't believe in the current championship there are any.
Definitely not in British GT.
No.
Obviously, British GT being dominated by the McLarens and the Aston Martins.
Of course, the Aston, the Martins, and the Mercedes.
Yeah, I mean, I believe ABBA Racing they run their Mercedes, so...
I believe this past season it was the Mercedes coming out on top of nearly every race.
Indeed.
If we follow here, Mr. Zanti has made his way past the GT4s and is now playing catch up. A beautiful livery. So hats off to Mark for once again creating something that's just visually beautiful to look at on the track.
Indeed.
If we go up, we then of course have Mr. McGee in the Beans liveried McLaren. That is a work of art. I think what I love about this livery more than anything is the matching wheels.
Yeah, the matching wheels are very
I think it's a nice touch.
So, yeah, I think it's a interesting touch indeed. Obviously, the Castrol inspired Bathurst livery.
Yes,
always
classic. As we move our way up, we have both of the Ferraris fighting together. As we saw in qualifying, both of the Ferraris essentially sat on top of each other when it comes to their track timing.
Absolutely, I mean, that's never a bad thing. Again, following each other in cars that you know are similar together, especially the Ferrari, it's always helpful because you can learn more about the car from following a guy in the car, or vice versa, obviously a car following you.
Exactly, and you have the advantage of when you're in similarly matched cars, you're both taking the same lines, you're both using the same braking points. You have essentially got yourself, when you're sat behind, got yourself a free bit of broken air when it comes to the straights.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, you know, on the straights you get your beautiful toe, and if you sit back far enough, it doesn't affect you in the corners. Obviously, dirty air isn't something you overly get in GT racing. Obviously, it's more prominent in the Formula One and the higher downforce spec series as such. But yeah, dirty air obviously isn't a major issue in GT series, so it means you can follow fairly close and also get right up behind someone.
That's it. If we move up, we have Mr. Christopher and Mike Rogers in the Bentley, the PWS. They're very striking livery, and there's some very close racing going on here.
Indeed, yeah. Obviously, close racing going on between the four here. Sorry, as I.
It seems like Jackson is holding everyone back here as we have Newton.
Gonna go for Newton's just killing a brake marker, but gone up the inside.
Sending that brake marker. Hopefully, everyone else on the track knows where it was.
I think it luckily was only a sponsor board, so it wasn't the worst in the world. Oh, that looked like contact.
It did indeed.
That looked like a large amount of contact there.
We've got Newton and Christopher who both dropped down now behind Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, so obviously that's an interesting thing. So it looked like, I think they just got into each other as they were under braking.
That's it. I believe that braking point's very, very different depending on what your brakes are set up like and what car you're in. I think it's going to take a few laps of close racing before the drivers really start to understand where cars are expected to brake.
Absolutely.
I think that's part of the joy about GT racing, is that you have cars that are very, very closely spec'd when it comes to performance, but there's still those differences that make it a huge challenge under braking when you're racing close.
Absolutely. Obviously, the main thing when you're fighting with new drivers is you've got to try and remember that they don't know how you race, and then obviously you don't know how they race. So you've got to try and show
Work each other up.
respect, but also you want to take the position. You're not going to just sit behind somebody for 24 hours.
No, there's only so much you can learn off of a driver
Yeah.
before you need to move on and learn from the next.
Absolutely. So wait and see, obviously, how it goes for these drivers as time progresses.
That's it. Now we're moving up. Got Mr. Ward there.
Yep, Mr. Ward there. Obviously, Lee Ward did race in the GT4 category last year.
He did.
Fairly well, I think.
I believe he did. I believe he was just off of a podium.
Yeah, I mean, he's been overtaken by Jonathan Seville. So Jonathan Seville, after dropping to pretty much the back of the grid, he's made his way back up to 7th in less than 10 minutes.
That's it. He dropped down to 14th, I believe.
Yeah, obviously, if you didn't have any evidence as to what a fast driver can do, this is the best example. Drivers like this drivers like this can race so fast that you just don't even notice them going through sometimes. If I'm honest.
And it looks like, am I correct in saying that Robert Pixley has entered the pits? Oh wait.
Nope.
No, that is
Jamie
Buchanan.
Buchanan. So Mark Hagel and Lisa Keane have done their stops. Obviously, as time goes, this is going to be sort of the point where people start to look at doing their stops now. It'd be interesting to see, obviously.
We're less than 15 minutes into the race, though. This
Yeah,
is very
again,
early stopping.
You say that, but the reality is that
These tyres
can.
yeah, that's it. Once it's done, it's done. It's over and done with. And these tyres can hold up for an hour once the brake ducting's set up correctly. So maybe it's not as early as I thought.
And also, you've got to remember that these drivers are experienced. Most of them know how to
manage
the
them.
car in a straight line and how to manage it. So honestly, I wouldn't worry too much about when they stop. It's about what happens when they come back out.
That's it. As you see, Mr. Buchanan's come out just within the pack there. Onto his outlet.
I believe that's Mr. Hagel. That's Hagel now going through the GT4.
Yeah.
So that'll be him coming back out of the stop, which means that obviously, there you go, jumps back up. But
there you go.
If they haven't pitted yet, obviously he's now got clean air. He's now got a load of track with clean air. If something happens now, where a driver, say the top 5, come out into traffic, he's made up time, and that's what the idea is. It's essentially an undercut. You want it to be so that when the other guys go back in, they come out back into traffic, and if they don't come back out to traffic, your undercut doesn't work, basically. There you
100%.
go. See, they're still battling at the front there with, I can't tell quite who that is, two Aston Martin, Bentley and Aston Martin, and another Aston Martin. They're still fighting like mad. I know there's the 777 in there. Jonathan Seville shouldn't be too far away from those guys either. So
he's not.
He's got in front of them, sorry. So Mark Rogers, Lee Ward and Dave Newton. As Dave Newton looks around the outside, Lee comes a bit wide to cover it off. See, Dave is now
very good defence there.
Dave will now try and look for a way through. Obviously, these guys are going to keep fighting, which also allows Mr. Hagel to catch up to them, so that's not going to help their, obviously, defence of the position to him, but obviously we love to see the racing.
No, and as we see, Lee Ward is doing everything he can here to hold his position. He's a very, very good defensive driver.
Indeed he is. Like I say, he's doing a very good job here, but I don't know if he's going to be able to cover it off properly.
Well, he
there.
does.
Just about. Very, very close there as the Ferrari then goes through. And that is Mr. Perret.
And you can tell these drivers have experienced the track together and fought together many, many times before.
Indeed. Well, even if they haven't, there's some respect there between the 5 drivers there. They all know roughly that they all want to finish, and if you don't finish, then you're going to have an issue.
That's it.
Obviously, points are points, and you've got to keep working hard, especially the team's championship. because Pulse will be a tough team to beat in the Teams Championship, absolutely.
They will, they will. I believe if we're looking up the order now, I believe we're going to find Pulse sitting quite comfortably towards the front. With Mr. Seville up into 6th.
Oh, Seville up to 6th, Dixon's pitted. Obviously, we've got a really close battle between Mr. Wilkes and Johnny Gilbert, I believe that is.
We do indeed, and we have Raddenbury here holding 4th position away from Gerard and Seville.
Obviously, these guys still are yet to stop as well, so we've got to bear in mind that Seville's managed to make his way up to now 5th place.
Yes.
Once the next split sector comes through. There we go. I think that's correct. I think we're at split here. No, it's not come through yet, but if that is Mr. Seville, obviously that's going to allow him to... There you go. Yeah, it's updated now. So this is a question of whether Mark holds up. Because there's some traffic now in front of him. So there's a GT4 of Colin Dunn in front.
It is Colin Dunn.
Colin and Mark are teammates, technically. So this will be interesting to see how they cooperate in terms of going round. Obviously,
it's very hard to move out of the way of each other when you're going through that little chicane there.
It is indeed, and there you go. Mark's going to sort of force him into the GT4 traffic, slows him down a little bit.
It has slowed him a little bit, and Seville's going to try and...
allowed Gerard to get back on.
Yeah.
So now we're going to go too wide into the braking zone. Seville's going to try and brake late.
But Mark's got it. He's clean.
Mark's covered it off.
Very, very clean.
So Colin's now going to try and obviously just keeps to his own race. He doesn't want to really challenge too hard, because if he does, there'll be an issue. Obviously, he may cause an accident, which obviously he really doesn't want to do. There you go. Obviously, Mark is trying as hard as he can. You can imagine now he's going to be...
The sweat is beading. The sweat is beading.
Absolutely. He'll be sweating like mad to try and keep a driver of Johnny's caliber behind him.
But Mark is a very good driver, and he proved that last season within the GT4s. And it's good to see him now progressing up to the GT3, and it's going to be interesting to see how he fights off throughout the rest of the season.
Absolutely, but yeah, all being well, he'll definitely be fighting hard. Here we go. Like, here's the move now. I think maybe
it's going to be it,
Mark's
and
got
there we go.
Line. Oh, there you go. Yeah, Jonathan's going to go around the outside. Mark should cover it off.
It's not going to be. It's not going to happen.
No, there you go. Jonathan's just going to keep there, and there you go. Absolutely just goes through.
Very, very well defended, but I don't think there was much he could have done in that position there.
No hesitation at all. And again, a very, very good move. So, yeah, as we watch him come through, as we got 40 minutes still left in the session, that looked like somebody just come into the pits.
It was Mr. Poe.
Oh, was it Poe, was it?
I believe so.
There we go, Lisa Keane going on the inside of Jamie Buchanan. So
yeah, it looks like the move has paid off, but there we go, a little bit wide there, and I think there's going to be a couple that are going to take advantage of that.
Lisa's lost the position to Jamie through the lap traffic. Jamie's taken advantage of the fact that Lisa's gone wide. She's given him a bump to say thank you for that.
Thank you.
You know, thanks for leaving me out to dry as the drivers go through. But you know what? I don't blame her. You know, she's trying to race her own race as well.
That's it. They're all out there to race for themselves and for their teams. Things like that are frustrating on the track.
Absolutely, when you get forced wide due to lapping traffic.
That's it. There's two levels of frustration when you're on the track, and there's the frustration caused by other people, and then there's the frustration caused by your own mistakes. And I think we know which one is more painful to the driver.
Absolutely. Obviously, being caught out by another car that isn't in your class and then losing positions because of it is never something you want. Normally it's the GT3s complaining about GT4s, but this time be the GT4s complaining about GT3s.
It does look like that way.
it'd be very interesting to see how that shapes up across the rest of the races. Obviously, not far away is Mark Neutlings, so they could easily catch him and potentially challenge him for whatever position he is in currently as 21st.
And we see quite a few of the GT3s are now mixed within the GT4s. It's going to be interesting to see how clean this is kept throughout this lap.
So it's about every 20 minutes they're going to lap the cars, which means they're going to lap them 3 times across the race. Obviously, it's a case of how well they can get round them without causing it accident, really. It's not a case of there's a lap traffic in the way, it's the case of if I get caught with the lap traffic and then I hit the lap traffic, I'm the one that's in the wrong.
Yes. I think the GT3 drivers know that they have to have a certain level of respect for the GT4 drivers as they're coming up to them, but we do see throughout the season just little bits of aggression coming out on the track towards the GT4 drivers.
I think it's less aggression and more frustration. You know, it's like being told, "Oh yeah, you're in the you're faster than him, but you can't go past him."
Yes, and it is frustrating. It can be very, very frustrating for the drivers, but there are ways to go about it.
Absolutely, but you know, that's the case in many cases. It's sorting yourself out and keeping yourself calm under pressure.
We move up now. We've jumped quite far throughout the order here, and as we're on board with Christopher.
Yep, as we follow Chris in the 191 Aston, I believe that is. I'm not quite sure which one it is.
The Vantage,
the PWS.
the V8.
Yeah, there's two of them. That was all I was trying to figure out whether it was the Castrol or the PWS one, but PWS one, yeah, the Castrol is the one in front as it goes into the ground. Rob Jackson, I believe that is. Yeah, Rob Jackson and his beautiful Castrol inspired Aston, the PWS Rob Jackson car there.
Does seem to be the fight of the Astons here.
It does. We've got 4 Astons within 4 positions. There's one more Aston in front, obviously, that I believe that's Lee Ward going around Mark Neutlings right now, followed by obviously Rob Jackson, Mr. Christopher and Dave Newton. Gerard up in 6th still, so Raddenberry's has been overtaken by Scott. That's what I've just noticed as well. Obviously, all these drivers are still yet to make stops.
Yes. So far on stops we have only seen, trying to see if we can see from this, but it doesn't look like we can.
Unfortunately not, no. Like I said, stops wise, I don't think any of the front runners besides Hager stopped, so it'll be interesting to see when they come in. Obviously, we're getting towards the halfway point of the race now, so realistically they need to be stopping soon, otherwise they're going to struggle.
That is it. I'm jumping back on board with Mr. Raddenberry here.
So Mr. Raddenberry there we go, so Johnny Gilbert's come in. So there's your second Pulse Audi in the stops. 9 seconds up the road, Ashton. He's very much got
He's
the
making that
opportunity
gap. He's making that gap that we spoke about. I
very
think
much
he's very
that.
comfortable within this track. And within the Porsche, which he proved last season, it seems to be definitely his go-to car, and I believe that he's just making it every 10th of a second that he can while he's out here in front. I don't believe Ash is going to pit until very late on. I believe he's going to hold out and make as much gap as possible.
He's got the clean air, so while he's got the clean air, he may as well do it.
Yeah.
In theory, the guys that have pitted, you pit while in traffic. In theory, that there is no traffic to be. When you come back out, there's no traffic. So if you manage to do that, then obviously it's a bonus. If not, obviously it's unfortunate, but you go again. The idea is to come back out in an empty track because you can just hot lap and, you know, pull a distance, close the gap.
That's it. Clean out lap followed by just putting your foot down and making whatever gain you can.
Absolutely. If you don't make a gain during the out laps or the in laps, there's just nothing you'll get. You'll just get nothing from it, and that's the case. You need to push in order to get anything from a race, especially one like this, where it's very dependent on how you stop or when you stop. As to how well it goes.
Does seem we are seeing more and more drivers come in for their pit stops now, but it looks at it. We've got Colin Dunn who's just come in for his as well. Has he? No. I am incorrect there. We have got Jackson, Gilbert Hagan, Miles Dixon have all completed theirs.
So yeah, as you see, drivers are now starting to do their stops. They're trying to split it perfectly down the middle in the theory that obviously there's enough time if they need to then to catch up. Obviously Johnny Seville now up to second. He'll be chasing down Ash Knight before he stops. He'll stop probably once he's overtaken Ash Knight.
That's it, with 19-second gap.
But bear in mind, obviously, it was a lot greater than that at one point as well, so we've got to bear in mind that he's managed to pull he's pulled 12 places and only up to down to a 90, obviously only a 19-second gap. He's done very, very well.
That's it, and with over half the race still left to go, I think he's going to close that down pretty damn fast. And the McLaren holds tyres a lot longer than the Porsche as well.
The McLaren is so much more forgiving.
Much more forgiving, and the tyres just don't hit the same level of stress, and he's come in for his pit. Which is interesting, because as I was saying, the tyres can take a lot more.
But I think this is a case of he knows he can get some free air now. And that's the idea. He's going to get the free air. Obviously, it's a 30-second stop regardless of your fuel or not. The tyres are 30 seconds. So he's just going to take the 30-second stop and obviously not stress about anything else. Obviously, he's going to get overtaken by the drivers that come across the line here. You know, there's Gerard. I believe Gerard's already gone through. See, Pixley hasn't stopped yet, which is interesting. And Brown has.
No, Ant Brown has not.
He's just come in.
Has he?
Yeah, he's just gone into the pits.
Just missed that, did I?
Yeah, he's just gone into the pits. Now Pixley needs the lap of his life, and in theory an in-lap to counter him. So he needs these two Aston Martins to get past him very quickly. Lee Ward tries to look around the outside, doesn't go around the outside. He's now going to look for the move on car in front.
Oh, and that's it. They are both off.
That was a bit silly from me there. Obviously, trying to dive in where there was no space, and unfortunate. Obviously, I think Lee will apologise, but you know, you shouldn't be diving in like that, especially after lapping traffic.
Definitely not, and I think that's something we're going to see more and more throughout the season. It does seem to happen. Those silly mistakes do cost the drivers quite a lot.
Again, it's never a big mistake that costs you. It's always the small ones that cost you in the end. Very much a case of, as time progresses, they'll get better and better. But right now, yeah, obviously the small mistakes that are made do happen sometimes, and obviously it's not the worst thing to happen, by no means, but equally it's something you don't want to happen.
No, definitely not. Now on board with Lee Ward.
Again, there won't be much damage to his car, as I think that's Miles behind. Yeah, it's Miles Dixon behind him.
And as we were saying earlier, there are drivers of Lee Ward's coming in for his pit now. But as we were saying earlier, there are drivers that are coming into this season which are carrying over penalty points from the previous season, Lee Ward being one of them.
Sorry to cut you off, but our championship winner last time out, Simon Wilkes, has a drive-through So Simon Wilkes is now going to drive through. That's going to cost him any chance at a podium this time out. That drive through will prove to be. There you go. Hagel's even overtaken him on the stops. So Hagel has managed to undercut him dramatically to the point where, there you go, he's now in front of him. So is Johnny Gilbert. So is Miles Dixon. So they've undercut Wilkes to the point where Wilkes has now got to come through for a drive through. Drop probably behind Jonathan Seville as well, which he's not going to be happy about, obviously.
No.
But so for whatever reason, he's got himself a track limit penalty.
Be interesting to know what caused that.
I believe it was track limits. So he's cut. So obviously, for those that don't know, the white lines on either side of the track are your track limits. If you go over them enough times and gain an advantage, obviously, it's like that. I would believe that would be a track limit.
I believe so.
He'll pick up time, obviously a warning for track limits. You get enough of them, this is what happens. You get a drive-through penalty, and you kind of, well, not completely knackered because he should be able to catch back up to Hagel, but obviously you don't need a drive-through, especially in only an hour-long race. It's a long pit lane here, and he's going to struggle to catch up afterwards.
He is indeed. And the only saving grace there is that it's not the Spa pit lane.
Absolutely. I mean, he's not come in this lap, so if he hasn't noticed it, he's going to. He
has one lap left to do it.
So Miles Dixon is now under attack from Johnny Gilbert. So Johnny Gilbert's now going to go up the inside of Miles. Miles isn't going to fight him. Just let him through. Obviously, Johnny's now
This is all about team play here.
Pixley's not going to give him the inside line. Johnny...
And that's going to send Miles wide.
Yeah, unfortunately that proves a bit, not fatal, but like a bit instrumental to Miles. Miles just was ready to go for the move that
Definitely
maybe he should have hesitated for. If you have probably hesitated a moment, you've been alright there. It's not cost him completely there. He's already back on the back of his teammate, but Ash Knight's now hoping that the four in the front obviously just don't pull away.
If we move up to see Ash Knight, he seems as comfortable as ever on the track.
Obviously the big one we're going to be watching out for as well is Simon Wilkes. Make sure he does take this penalty. If he doesn't take this penalty, he will get disqualified.
Be disqualified. As we look through, there's not many drivers that haven't completed their pit now.
No, like I say, obviously the drivers are getting to the stage where they'll all be completing their pits again. Like with 25 minutes left, you'll see the last couple probably dash in at about 20 minutes to go.
That's it. Mark Rogers being one of them.
Obviously, Mark Rogers in the PWS Bentley. I believe Gerard in his PWS Aston Martin. Who else have we got? I think we've got a Ferrari in this top four.
If we look up to it, and that is it.
So Mark Christopher, obviously in another Aston. I think that's also a PWS Aston, and Perret in his Ferrari. Those four obviously haven't stopped for whatever reason.
They have not. And Ash Knight has now taken his pit, which is... So it's just the last, it is just the first four holding out on that pit stop. That gap is going to come down very rapidly as they do.
Absolutely, it's gonna drop like a brick. As soon as they stop, obviously Ash should in theory re-inherit the lead. Johnny Gilbert should come second and Miles third. Yes. Obviously at the moment, by the looks of it, besides Ash Knight, it's a pulse top three. So if something happened to Ash Knight, it would be a pulse top three, which obviously would be great for Pulse.
It would be great for Pulse, and it would be a great start to the season.
It would, absolutely. I mean, we've got a lot of drivers in here that are doing quite well for themselves. Obviously, we've got I believe that's Rob Zantai on the back of the leader. So he's not lost pace with the leader, which means that obviously either the tyres are going on that Aston Martin or Zantai's just pulling a lot of pace out of that Honda right now. Obviously, whichever one it is equally as good. But yeah, we need to hope that if these guys do pit and they come out, we get a nice little battle on our hands before the end of the race.
That's it, and I think that does show how good of a driver Zantai is, considering the messy start that he had here at Barcelona. He's now happily sat there. It doesn't look like there's any problems for him keeping up with Gerard.
Yeah, there's no issues
and there's
keeping up.
another drive-through penalty for Mr. Keane.
56 for Mrs. Keane, or Miss Keane, sorry. For Lisa Keane there, so the only female getting a penalty there for track limits as well. This track is very bad for track limits. That's one thing I will say. It's a very horrible track for track limits. There we go. So Ash Knight's taken Perret and Gilbert. So 2 drivers stopped. We've got the last 2 at the front by the looks of it. Stop there, stopping now. So as we see now, as we come to the last 20 minutes,
we are on board with Alex McGee.
He's currently 14th, which isn't a bad position at all. He's pushing fairly hard to try and obviously keep. I believe that was Dave Newton. Dave Newton stopped by the looks of it, which means he's got to fight his way back through anyway.
And it looks like he's going for the push on the inside, but it didn't pay off there.
He's looked down the inside there thinking, you know,
is the gap there? Can it be done? And he had to back off in the last moment, which was a sensible decision.
Obviously, yeah, he knows that there'll be another opportunity. He knows that
patience is key.
You know, patience is key, absolutely, especially in GT racing. If you don't have the patience or the understanding of the fellow driver, you're just going to struggle.
100%. You can look down the inside, you can make moves like that, and they may well pay off, but with 21 minutes left on the clock, it's not worth the risk to throw it up on the inside of someone when it could all end in tears.
Absolutely not. You don't want to be ending it in tears for yourself. You don't want to be ending it in tears for anybody else. So, no, that is Mr. Liv Ward. Sorry, you're right. That's Lee Ward.
Yes.
But Lisa Keane did get the penalty. I was trying to look now. So she hopefully has served her penalty as well. It looks like she has because she's not on the top.
Yeah, she is serving her penalty now.
So there's the drive-through penalty coming into effect now. And obviously, Cataluna does have a long...
And a drive-through penalty for 390, which is Jackson.
R8. The R8 to Jackson.
It's James Jackson.
So, well, that's unfortunate for him, obviously. Nobody wants to get a penalty, but...
That's it.
If you're going to violate track limits, you've got to expect that eventually a penalty is going to come your way. There we go. So
that is it. Ash Knight has regained his lead now as the top 4 have now made their pit stops. So we've got Knight followed by Gilbert and Dixon on the top 3.
Mr. Hagel, obviously Jonathan Seville, both Pulse drivers. So all 4 Pulse drivers in the top 5. And then Mark Raddenbury in positive perception 6. Very, very, very good job here.
Very good timing for Mark. Simon Wilkes still holding there in 8th place.
And then obviously, Mr. Wilkes coming back through the grid now, obviously trying to carve his way back through all the drivers. But
making his way through. He's past Gerard.
With the struggle of a penalty like that, more than likely he will not make it back to the top step or near the podium. But as Ashley goes running inside, that's fine, it looks clean. Obviously he's just trying to make his way through without causing any issues for the other GT drivers.
Is
he
it?
just wants to get through. I think that's all he wants there, just wants to get through and ahead, away from his competitors.
And that is going to create a very, very big time for him. We see Lisa's just been pushed off the track a little bit there. But that has made a lot of clean air for Mr. Knight there.
Absolutely, she sort of allowed him to pull away there. So I'm just watching back the replay now. So she just goes off on her own. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
She just goes off on her own. But Ant Brown obviously doesn't get away for long.
There we go.
What's Pixley doing his stop, I believe. So he's ahead of Ant Brown, which is obviously there he is though. So there's Ant Brown. So he's now going to be racing Ant Brown, and Ant Brown's taking the lead. So from what I can see, that's Ant Brown taking the lead.
It is.
Well, that's unfortunate for him.
But you have Mark Newlings, who is yet to pit, the only GT4 driver yet to take his pit
I
stop.
think he may be the only driver.
He is.
So clearly he wants to go as long as he physically can.
Will that pay off though?
No. If you've ever watched Rallycross, you know about the Joker lap, and the Joker lap is designed to obviously, you know, make people have a little bit of thinking. Now, if you leave it too late and the guy's caught you before you've even taken your Joker lap, well, what's the point in a Joker lap when, you know, you've now compromised your stop? Well, the same system applies. All these drivers need to do is pit and come back out in clean air, and they'll complete an undercut if the other guy comes out without clean air. Obviously, it'll be interesting to see how the drivers, obviously, especially someone like Mark Mertens, who is quite well experienced, handles the pressure. But quite right now, I can't see him being overly stressed about need to pit.
So, and we see Peter Phillips seems to be having trouble here. He seems to have dropped 2 positions, where we have all 3 Ferraris bunched up together as they come through the final corner there.
Yeah, the Ferrari's right at the back, which is a really unfortunate sight. I believe that, you know, they shouldn't be this far back. So
they shouldn't. I've raced Barcelona a handful of times, and from what I remember, it was usually the Ferraris up in the top spot. So this car is very, very capable here at Barcelona.
Yeah, I think it is a very capable car, but, you know, maybe it's the first time these guys have driven it competitively. Obviously, we've got to bear in mind that
100%.
Everybody here is still learning as well. Even the top guys, you know, they'll never deny the fact that they're learning something new, and obviously they're going to perfect the craft. There's a reason why Pulse always change cars, because they want to try something new.
I'm very much the same. I don't think I've raced any one season in the same car before.
Exactly. So, like I say, we'll see how it shapes up when the race ends. It's with about, I'm guessing there's about 15 minutes left or so.
About 15 minutes, yes. We are about to reach that marker.
So, yeah, with 15 minutes left, a quarter of the race to go, I can't really see much changing, especially in the top 3. They're quite well separated.
It just looks like a bit of fun going on between the Pulse boys here. I think they know that this race was essentially theirs.
Yeah, someone's just been overtaken, so I'm not sure that was just Mr. Hager getting overtaken by Johnny. But yeah, so we'll wait and see as they come across the timing line. But yeah, obviously it's the Porsche of Ash Knight, the Audi of Johnny, Mr. Gilbert.
Oh, and it looks like a bit of a slide there.
Who was that? That was, I couldn't tell you. I think it might have been Poe.
That was Poe.
So Poe just had a small slide there. Again, the 650 being the older car. Obviously, the traction control system's slightly older.
It's quite limited in the way of control, whereas the 720 has all of the control in the world when it comes down to the ABS and the traction control. I have driven both.
Yeah, that's definitely a key point to think about as well when you drive, is that obviously you've got to be careful, especially around tracks like this where a lot of the runoffs are quite wide. So if you run wide and then end up off the circuit by a decent margin, not only have you then got to get yourself back on the circuit, you've got to do that in a manner which is obviously deemed safe. You've also then got to worry about where your competitors are, and then most importantly, obviously get back up to racing speed.
And we have a drive-through for Miles Dixon.
Miles Dixon with a drive-through. Oh no, that's
very, very late in the race.
That will cost him a podium. I think that will cost him a podium.
100%, 100%.
So he won't be happy with that. I think he'll be kicking himself, especially considering the fact of, he's worked so hard to get the podium.
And he's coming in for it now.
Yeah, there you go. He's coming straight in.
That's it.
I think that may be it for him.
Yeah. Absolutely gutting. Absolutely gutting after such a long drive, after over 45 minutes of keeping that car under such control and consistency. I think it just slipped out from him.
It's really unfortunate to see, but again, it's an unfortunate situation, but it's self-inflicted.
This is racing.
Rules are rules. If you can't follow the rules and you get a penalty, that is on your head as such.
Yeah, Phillips is making his way through the GT4s here. Ginetta does look very, very happy on the track though.
It's like the MX-5s, it was just very happy to be here. So Johnny Seville, despite being spun on perhaps first or second lap, has managed to claw his way back up to third. And almost, well, he's still not completely away from the possibility of a second place finish.
No, with only 4 seconds gap there, over 10 minutes left of driving, I think it's very, very doable. It's all about consistency at that point. We're 1:44.7, very, very quick.
It's incredibly quick, he's gaining over half a second a lap. It's going to be a case of what happens first. He catches him or he runs out of laps.
That's it. Am I right in saying that Johnny didn't pit until quite late either?
He did try an overcut strategy and it worked fairly well for him.
So he's still on quite fresh tyres compared to some of the other people on the track.
Yeah, again, obviously the tyres aren't as fresh, but... Oh, sorry, are fresher, than the others, but... Obviously, he's not thinking about that. Right now, all he's thinking is, how close can I get to my teammate? Can I overtake him before the end of the race?
Yes.
And he's already gained over almost a second on his teammate. The gap's down to like 3.5, 3.6 now. He's got to be careful with these track limits before he does get a penalty. Johnny Gilbert seems to be catching him well.
He is pushing it to the limit here. He knows where the limits are.
Absolutely, but again, these drivers have hours, but I mean like thousands of hours in this game.
Yeah.
You look at someone like me, maybe got a couple hundred at most.
Yes, I think I'm on about 250 now.
I don't even think I'm over 100, like competitively at least anyway, over 100. Because
no.
I don't race. Obviously, I commentate normally now, so the chance of me having competitive hours in Competizione is, I'm not even at 100 hours yet, so, I don't play it competitively. If we will look at my other games, you might see a bit more hour rate, but obviously you can see that the competition here still, these guys will have thousands of hours. I have friends that have probably got over, there you go, like my friends have got minimum like 500-600 hours, so it's very much a case of how much time you can devote to
100%. When I look at it, I believe I have just under 250 hours played within ACC, but if we look at something like Assetto Corsa, it's into the thousands. And it shows once you're on the track.
I mean, I've almost got the same amount of hours on Dawn of War than I do on Set Course Competizione. So, and that's no disrespect to either game. That's just me being busy and obviously having real world racing stuff to do and having sim racing stuff to do as well. It's a very busy life. But as you can see now, Mark, I'm afraid I don't know his first name, but Mr. Hagel going past Colin Dunn there. How is the battle for GT4 going? We're in the last 10 minutes now, so how is the GT4 battle?
The GT4 battle won't let me see as such. If we have a look down the order, we have Pixley out in front with a 5-second gap against Ant Brown. And then a big gap to O'Farrell. I think Pixley, like we said, Pixley's very, very comfortable here. And I think he's just going to sit back and remain consistent for the last 7 minutes here.
Obviously, yeah, he's just trying to focus on how he races and not making that mistake, any small mistakes that will cost him. Obviously, that gap can still come down. You know, one small mistake and he loses this win.
That's it, that's it.
He can't sit back and think, yep, this is mine. As he does come towards the back of the Ginetta, so he will lap the Ginetta, so the Ginetta is no longer a threat to him, but obviously you still have other cars that are going to be lapping him.
That's it, and you've got to take into account the fact that he's going to have those GT3s right there that are going to be trying to push past him, and they may well cost him time.
Obviously they'll cost, yeah, again, it's very rare that a GT3 will cost GT4 time, but likewise, it can happen.
It can.
Obviously the next race being Brands Hatch, if I'm not mistaken, yeah?
Yes.
Obviously the Ginetta will become a dark horse there, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. And
it was essentially built for that track.
Built for British tracks, and honestly, when it comes to British tracks, it comes alive. So
yes. I bet you wish you raced that last season.
I wish we'd race Alton Park as well. Obviously, Alton Park would be a great track for me, but
I've raced Alton Park competitively once within ACC, and it was my first ever competitive race, and it was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
But yeah, I mean, the racing here is fairly spread out at this point. Unless we look at we should probably jump back to the front of the pack now, see if there's anything
We probably should see
changing.
what's occurring. Make our way up. There we go.
There we go. Jonathan Seville is now only less than 2 seconds away. With 5 minutes left, he's gonna have to make that move at some point. If we can jump back to Johnny Seville, let's just see how close he actually is now to his teammate. And obviously, there's Mr. Gilbert, and there we go, Mr. Seville, not far away at all there. So he's gonna keep pushing, obviously, as hard as he can. He's 1.6 now.
So we've just hit the 5-minute marker. We are going to see any pushes, any possible pushes are going to happen now.
Absolutely. If you're not going to make the move now, then you may as well just
sit back and just yeah.
There you go. 1.2, 1.1. It's going to come down to maybe a second before the end of this turn. So there we go. There's the second.
There's the one.
So he's going to have an opportunity to go for him in the last 2 laps. We're looking at about maybe 3 more laps, if 3 or 4 more laps, depending on when they cross the line. So obviously Ash will cross the line in maybe about 5 or 6 seconds. He'll be crossing the line soon, and then there you go.
There you go.
So 1:45.7 for him. Let's see what Johnny Seville does, as he's now less than a
as 1:44.7, incredibly consistent.
Faster, over a second faster than Johnny Gilbert. So Gilbert's going to have to sort of concede that he's not going to hold his teammate out for much longer. Whether he battles him or not, that's obviously remains to be seen, because obviously they are still going to fight each other.
They will fight each other, but are they going to see the bigger picture? I think they will, and I think we'll see
But we've still got, obviously, Mr. Hagel in the event one of them does die. Or, like, spin off, sorry. So, it'll be interesting to see how hard they fight each other. Because if they take both each other out, then Mark Granbury comes onto the podium. Mark still has the opportunity to get that podium with 30 minutes left. He definitely is on an opportunity if these two do go off. He should get a podium. But it's a case of
all comes down to how aggressive this potential pass is going to be.
It is very much the case of how aggressive does a Pulse driver overtake the other Pulse driver. If he does it fully aggressively, we could see, a major accident. If he just sort of sits off the back and goes, right, this is the point, then it won't be as difficult. I believe that's Pixley up ahead. I can't really see because no, it's
not
Maserati of Tom O'Farrell. But these two have now got to try and fight their way around that car as well.
That's it. They've got to fight their way past O'Farrell, Lisa.
Here we go. So there goes Gilbert.
There we go.
Tom's going to go wide as anything to let them through.
Very wide.
But look how quick that Maserati is in a straight line. It's not dropped off the back by much.
It's not. It's really not. Here we go. Now Lisa Keane being the next obstacle for Pulse Motorsport as they come into what's going to be the penultimate lap. Am I correct?
It should be the penultimate lap, all being well. Yeah, there we go. So Johnny Seville then uses the ability to just see the line and the gap between the two drivers and just go straight through. There wasn't even much of a conflict.
It wasn't at all, was it? He saw the gap open and he wasn't going to let it slip.
Absolutely not. But at the same time, it's not a bad thing. Obviously, his teammate has seen him go through and gone, yeah, you know what? I'll just take the podium because I'll play the team game here, obviously.
That's it. It's the long game. This is only the first race of the season. There's 5 more opportunities for Pulse to really pull out of the bag and for Gilbert to make his own podium.
Absolutely. Obviously, there'll be opportunities for the other drivers as well. You look at Mark Granbury, who's in 5th place, and he'll be really happy with 5th place. Everybody should be coming away from this race today fairly positive.
I believe they will. It's been an incredible race. We've seen a couple of slips and a couple of bumps, but we haven't seen anything drastic. We haven't seen anything massive. In all, it's been a very, very clean race for what I thought could have had a couple of disastrous first few opening laps.
Absolutely could. I mean, we watched a couple of incidents where they almost went into each other or almost had an issue. There you go, leader on the final lap.
There we go.
Up now, so last lap we're going to be watching it now. Obviously, as these two come through, I don't think there's going to be anything more happening here. If you can try and drop back, we'll see where Mr. Bradbury is compared to Mr. Wilkes. That would be an interesting one to try and find. So there's our race leader, Ash Knight, going through. We're looking for Mark Granbury, hopefully.
Who is down.
There he is. So where's Simon? Simon Wilkes is just there, so he's not far away at all.
He's not a 2-second gap. But Simon Wilkes is making a bit of a gain there on him, but I don't think he's got the time.
I don't think there's enough in this one.
I think that's our final standing, essentially. Unless anything drastic happens here within the passings of the GT4s. There we go, Mark slipping by.
Through. So Mark's done really well though to start
incredibly well.
And 11th. So then, also no, I think it was 12th, I believe. So to then come back to 5th place.
Within the top 5.
Yeah, within the top 5, he'll definitely be happy with that. He'll be beaming.
Yes, he will indeed. He will indeed. And his first season in the GT3.
GT3. And obviously, yeah, in the GT3 category, he's gone up. Not with maybe with fairly big expectations, but definitely not huge ones. Miles
is going to be happy, but I think Miles would have loved to have been within that top 5 and within the.
Well, he had the podium and then he threw it away with the tech track.
That's it. He's
come across the line now, so there we go. So we have got race win for Ash Knight. Looking for the other two now. They, I believe, have crossed the line.
And they have just come across the.
Finished the podium.
There we go.
If we may have had the winner for GT4 come across, You may want to check that for us. I do believe that will be Pixley.
We've got the GT4s coming across the line here. And that is Robert Pixley taking the GT4 round 1. Ash Knight taking GT3 round 1.
Yeah, again, a very good drive from everybody today. Obviously, very few incidents. Hopefully, Mark will be very happy with that because there won't be much to do later.
He definitely will be. He definitely will be happy with that, I can tell you now.
So I guess we're going to have to wait for the other 3 to come in now as we wait. So we should hopefully have our 3 GT3, I believe we're going to be doing today. 3 podiums, so...
Yes.
Give me one moment.
No problem. So now we do have the drivers coming in for their in-lap at the end of the race. And we may well take a short intermission before we go into our driver interviews with the top 3 from today. So that will be Mr. Ash Knight, Mr. Jonathan and James.
If you bring us up the
there we go.
Mr. Gilbert. There we go, thank you very much.
What an incredible drive. What a drive. I think we also need to give a shout out to
Mr. Roddenberry.
Oh well, of course, Mr. Roddenberry. What I was actually going to say was Robert Zanti, who finished in 12th place after what was very, very messy start.
Absolutely, I mean, absolutely. Anybody that's finished the race has done very well, obviously. It's not easy to finish a long race like these. Hopefully, all being well, we should have a good race at Brands Hatch next time out.
I believe so. Right, so if we move across now, we should be able to...
Just be able to bring Mr. Seville in. So we're just waiting on Ash, and we'll bring Mr. Seville up, but we'll hopefully have Ash and James up soon.
Let us work that out, and I think they're going to be taking a moment to celebrate between themselves.
There's a Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hi.
Hello. Congratulations.
There we go.
I've sweated a lot. Johnny, what a comeback.
That was incredible driving. Absolutely incredible driving. Congratulations there.
Absolutely. Jonathan, you muted, so you may want to unmute yourself, bud, if you can. I don't know if he's there. I'm hoping he's there. No, that's definitely.
Hoping.
Figure out if he can unmute himself. Hopefully,
we're getting there.
Be. There we go. Try again, Johnny.
There we go.
He's not. He's unmuted, but he's not talking, is he? How was it from your guys' perspective?
Oh yeah, it was very good, man.
Busy.
Very interesting. Well done to yourself for a 5th place.
My God.
Top 5. First race in the GT3 in the top 5. I can only imagine the sweat was beading.
So the flat I live in, it's always cold. So tonight I put a hoodie on,
right,
and I've got ski socks on, and I can't tell you how hot I am. It's ridiculous.
Well, congratulations. Was there any moment during the race where you essentially knew it was in the bag for you? Because I saw you fighting between the GT4s, making your way through.
When I caught Colin for the first time in a really, really bad place, but then managed to get past just before the main straight, I think that was when I knew, if I can manage the traffic a bit, I've got it. and it just when I saw Wilkes had a drive-through as well, and Miles had a drive-through, that was just right. I've got this.
That's it. Yeah, it is now mine.
However, my fuel was in the red at 10
Right.
minutes to go, so I was fuel saving.
Interesting. So do you believe if you had that extra fuel on board, there could have been a possibility of making any extra time?
Maybe, but it would have been hard work to do. Johnny's just sent a message that he can't talk in this server. I don't know why.
Very interesting.
Let's give that a go.
We'll
Johnny,
temporarily make him a
Johnny, can you
broadcaster.
speak? Johnny, let's see if that works. I think I've just fixed it. I'm not quite sure.
And we do have our race winner that has just joined in as well.
It's not working. I don't know why.
Oh, Mark's broke it.
I've put them both as broadcasters, so they should have the same rights as you guys.
See if that works. We may have a few technical difficulties.
I won't repeat what Ash
It's the first race of the season. It's the first race of the season. We're allowing for technical difficulties tonight.
If you're able to drag him from an interview, then that's probably the way to do it.
We can move down to the interview room.
Yeah, fine. Mic check. Can you hear us?
Like, check.
Yep, I got you. So let's see if we can get Johnny.
Okie dokie.
Johnny, Ash, either of you able to talk? You're muted, buddy.
I have no idea what's going on.
Hello.
Oh,
there he
hello.
is.
We
Oh.
got one. We got one.
Hey.
That's Jonathan Seville, finally.
Colin Dunn with the obvious answer.
Still on push to talk.
Oh dear.
Johnny, you made me work, mate. I
Well-
like to think I held you up a little bit.
Yeah, you did for a bit. Good defending.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that podium, though. That was incredible for us here in the comms box to be watching.
Yeah,
That was
thanks.
One hell of a fight, especially at the end there.
Yeah, it was well, a bit on a frustration. I don't know. That was fueling, I guess. I don't know. I'll have to watch the replay of turn one just to make up my mind on how it was. But yeah, I was angry at the time, and I think that just fueled my comeback really.
Right. So walk us through your race, essentially. How was it for you after turn one and after the slip up?
Well, I knew the Porsches always get good starts, so I knew I was in trouble when Ash was alongside me in one of them. So yeah, I knew it was going to be tricky to keep it into turn one, and obviously he did get past me.
Yeah.
So it was just about staying close, trying to force him into a mistake or try and get past. Tried to get past and saw what happened, I guess. Yeah, slipped down, just had to put my head down and get past everyone as quickly as I possibly could to try and get back up to the front.
I think you did a very good job at it as we were watching.
Yeah, thanks.
No worries.
It was a little bit difficult towards the end. I think, well, because I was pushing so much, my tyres were dead.
We did see the back end started to look a bit slippery as you were coming through the last couple of laps there, and we could see you almost reserving the tyres as we were coming through that third sector.
Yeah, it was a very, very slidey on the rear end. Killed those rear tyres. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on the podium once again. I think I think everyone over at Pulse Sim Sport's going to be having a bit of a celebration tonight.
Cheers. Thanks.
No problem, no problem. We have Ash Knight in the Discord as well, but I believe he's still muted.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
Good. You alright?
Yeah, not bad. How was your race?
Surprisingly good. Yeah, like Johnny said, got the jump on him at the start. I thought it was just going to be a close battle. I know he's quicker here.
Yeah.
He's much quicker than me. Like, as you saw in quali, he was like 8/10 ahead. So I was surprised to just get the jump on the start. Managed to keep him behind on the first lap. And then from my perspective at the time, looks like he went for a bit of an optimistic kind of Verstappen kind of move up the inside. I went to the line. I actually moved again, tried to leave a bit of space. And then, yeah, he kind of tapped me, and, the cars on this game are like made of rubber. So he bounced off. I somehow managed to keep the car straight. And then upon watching the replay, looks like what happened is he kind of went to go on the inside, as he did have a good slipstream up the straight, hit the curb, kind of bounced into me. So
Right.
I'm sure we'll have a chat after and see what we think of the incident. But yeah, overall had good pace, very surprising. I've never raced here before, so yeah, pretty pleased and surprised to get the win.
I imagine you are. And massive congratulations on a first place. From what seemed like a very comfortable drive from you after the first opening laps.
Yeah, there was a few hairy moments. There was one incident just after the pit stage where one of the GT3 Ferraris, I was coming up. Actually, it was full position, but he hadn't pit, and he kindly let me go. And then he missed his braking point and took me out. Literally just R3 let me go. So I sustained a good old bit of damage and went off the track, lost my tyres. Yeah, it was not good. But yeah, always drama on these positive perception races. I love it. It's just so much fun.
Hey, drama's good. Right, well, thank you very much. And I'm sure you'll be celebrating that one late into the night.
Oh, yeah. Late into the night. Thank you, mate.
No problem. So, is there anything else you have to say, Adam, after that race?
No, I'm just looking forward to the next one.
That's it. Next one is, well, if I bring it up,
Brands Hatch.
Brands Hatch. Yeah, I was just looking for the date on the 21st of October.
So
we
yeah,
will
we
be
have
at
a
Brands Hatch.
We have a fortnight break, and then we're back. We chose a fortnight just to give people time to prep, really.
Yes, I think that is a perfect time. I think a week for some people, when you've got work, it doesn't leave you with enough time to prep for some races. I think a fortnight's perfect.
Exactly, and the practice server's just gone live as well.
Lovely. Well, I am going to shut us down for the night, but thank you to everyone who's watched, and thank you to everyone who raced tonight. And big congratulations once again to our top 3 and to Mark with that P5.
I'm still slightly shocked, if I'm honest. But I'll take it,
Hey, I would as well.
Mighty Honda.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. And thank you very much for letting me commentate this.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Adam, as well.
No worries.
I'm sure I'll find the time at some point to watch it back. But thank you, everyone who's tuned in, everyone who's enjoyed it. If you have liked it, obviously give the video a like. Follow me on Instagram, all of that jazz. And if you need any custom liveries, hi, I'm your man.
Beautiful. Well, thank you very much, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time at Brands Hatch.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye. Right.